Hello students, welcome to lesson number 3, English Core, class 11th, Hornbill. The title of the lesson is Discovering Tut, the Saga Continues, written by A.R. Williams. Before we start this fascinating discovery of King Tut, let us find out who is A.R. Williams, its author. A.R. Williams is a senior writer for National Geographic magazine and its online news. This present lesson is an extract from one of her articles in the National Geographic, volume 207, number 6. Now students, here's an overview of the lesson, Discovering Tut, the Saga Continues. The discovery of Tut's tomb by Howard Carter, a British archaeologist, in 1922 is one of the most important archaeological finds of the century. The sheer splendor and richness of Tut's burial treasures became the measuring yardstick for all future archaeological discoveries in the world. In this lesson, students, the mysteries surrounding his life and death are gradually being solved with the help of new technological advances in an attempt to explain what really happened to the boy behind the iconic golden marks. Look, this is the famous iconic golden marks of Tutankhamun, the boy pharaoh of ancient Egypt. Now, let us discover who is Tut. Students, nothing much is known about Tut's lineage, but Tutankhamun or King Tut belonged to a powerful Egyptian dynasty which had been in power for centuries. Amenhotep III, who could have been Tut's father or grandfather, ruled for almost 4 decades at the height of the 18th dynasty Golden Age. He was succeeded by Amenhotep IV, who initiated one of the strangest periods in Egyptian history. He shocked the nation by smashing the images and temples of Amun, a major god. He changed his name to Akhenaten, or servant of the Aten, the sun god. He shifted the religious capital of Thebes to the present city of Amarna. In the words of Ray Johnson, director of the University of Chicago's Research Center at Lakshya, it must have been a horrific time for Egypt. After Akhenaten's death, an unknown ruler called Smenkhare reigned briefly and exited with hardly a trace. Then, a very young Tutankhaten became the pharaoh. Once he assumed power, Tut oversaw a restoration of the old order destroyed by his predecessor Akhenaten. What Tut did was he ended the worship of the sun god Aten and restored the supremacy of the god Amun. This was when he changed his name to Tutankhamun, which meant the living image of Amun. He reigned for about 9 years and then died unexpectedly. Students, you know that the treasures of Tutankhamun, as I've told you earlier, are till date the richest royal collection ever found in the history of Egypt. Tut was found buried with numerous funerary treasures in a tree-nested coffins of pure gold. The treasures found included precious collar, inlet necklaces and bracelets, rings, amulets, a ceremonial apron, sandals and seats for his fingers and toes that were intended to serve the pharaoh in the afterlife. But that was also buried with everyday things like board games, a bronze raja, linen undergarments, cases of food and wine. What you know, students, he was the last heir of a powerful dynasty that has ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. His untimely death sounded the death knell of that powerful dynasty. And since the discovery of his tomb, laden with gold in 1922, the modern world has speculated about what happened to him, with murder being the most extreme possibility. All these funerary treasures and stunning artifacts reveal the ancient Egyptian belief in the idea of resurrection, that is, life after death. The royals in ancient Egypt were fabulously rich and wealthy, and they thought they could take these riches with them in their afterlife. Howard Carter spent months trying to document the pharaoh's treasures and artifacts. Only then he began examining the three-nested coffins of Tutankhamun. On opening the outermost coffin of the three-nested coffins, Carter found a shroud adorned with garlands of willow and olive leaves, wild cerulea, lotus petals, and cornflowers. Evidences that the burial took place somewhere in March or April. That third or innermost coffin is made of solid gold, and it contains the mummy of the dead pharaoh. Then Carter ran into trouble. What Carter discovered was that the ritual resin, which had been used to mummify the dead body, had hardened, cementing the mummy of Tut to the bottom of a solid gold coffin. Now, what to do? Jahi Hawass, the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, remarked, the mummy was in a very bad condition because of what Carter did in the 1920s. He made this remark because Carter tried to loosen the regime by exposing it to the harsh Egyptian sun of 149 degrees Fahrenheit, hoping the heat will melt the regime. However, nothing but. Eventually, Carter and his men chiseled most of the major joints of the mummy. They even cut off the head. Then the remains were reassembled in a wooden box with padding to conceal the damage. The bed where Tut now rests. Here, the only argument to justify Carter's seemingly irresponsible action was that if he had not done what he had done with the mummy, thieves and robbers would have certainly ripped the mummy apart to rob the gold. Students, with rapid advancement in science and technology, the focus of archaeology has shifted from finding treasures to analyzing the fascinating details of life and the intriguing mysteries of death. In 1968, More than 40 years after Carter's discovery, an X-ray of Tut's mummy revealed that a breastbone and front ribs were missing. Now, the speculation of what could have happened to the boy pharaoh again taunted the public in general. Later on 5th January 2005, under Jahi Hawa's supervision, the mummy was taken out for a CT scan to determine how Tutankhamun died and at what age. The mummy was carefully raised from his tomb, which was 26 feet underground, and carried over to the scanner, donated by National Geographic and Siemens Company. Tut's mummy became one of the first mummies to undergo a CT scan. In that, as in life, moving regally ahead of his countrymen, remarked the author. The CT scan machine scanned the mummy head to toe, creating 1,700 digital X-ray images in cross-section. Tut's head scanned in 0.62 millimeter slices to register its intricate structures, text on eerie details in the resulting images. Once Tut's mummy was scanned, specialists in the field of radiology, forensic science, and anatomy began analyzing the scan. Surprisingly, clear images of Tut's body and vertebrae could be generated from the scan. It provided precise data for an accurate forensic reconstruction of King Tut. However, an intriguing coincidence took place when the mummy was disturbed from its resting place 3,300 years after it was put to rest by the funerary priests. An angry wind started stirring up ghostly dust devils and stormy desert winds on that fateful night of Jan 5, 2005, 6 p.m. And just when Jahi Hawa's men placed the mummy inside the CT scan machine, the $1 million scanner stopped functioning unexpectedly due to sand in a cooler fan. A guard standing nearby shocked nervously. The curse of the pharaoh. Eventually, the scan continued after substitute fans were provided. In less than 3 hours after the mummy had been taken out, Tutankhamun, the boy king, was back in his regal tomb, resting under the Orion, the constellation that the ancient Egypt knew as the soul of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, now more famous in death than in life. After the observation, when the team of Jahi Hawass wind up for the day, the stormy, costly wind that started earlier had subsided, and the winter air lay cold and still like death itself in the valley of the departed. And Jahi Hawass smiled, visibly relieved that nothing has gone seriously wrong. I didn't sleep last night, not for a second, he said. I was worried, but now I think I'll go and sleep. In fact, Jahi Hawass was clearly relieved that Carter's investigation had not done much harm or damage to the mummy of King Tutankhamun. In the words of Jahi Hawass, the story of Tut is like a play whose ending is still being written. Therefore, the discovery of Tut continues. Its story, his saga, continues. Now, students, let us start working with words. Here are some interesting combinations of words. You have to explain why they have been used together. Number 1, ghostly dust devil. Number 2, desert sky. 3, stunning artifacts. Number 4, funerary treasures. Number 5, scientific detachment. Number 6, dark velvet clouds. Number 7, casket gray. 8, eternal brilliance. 9, ritual resins. And 10, virtual body. Here are some more commonly used medical terms. Dear student, please find out the meanings. Number 1, CT scan. Number 2, MRI. Number 3, tomography. Number 4, autopsy. Number 5, dialysis. Number 6, ECG. Number 7, postmortem. Number 8, angiography. And 9, biopsy. Here's some home assignment which you have to answer in about 100 to 125 words each. Question number 1. Archaeology has changed substantially in the intervening decades. Justify the statement with reference to the text discovering Tut. The saga continues. Question number 2. The mummy is in a bad condition because of what Carter did in the 1920s. What did Carter do and why? And lastly, question number 3. Nature echo the unnatural happening with King Tut's mummy command. Student, with this image of the pyramid, I take leave of you all with the hope that you have become more curious and fascinated by King Tut, the legendary boy pharaoh with the golden iconic mask. Thank you once again.